Listen.
There we go.
All right, I'm going to start the recording, and we've got a list of things to go through, but I'm going to go pretty quickly. I think we've got a lot of veteran umpires here, so this shouldn't take an excruciatingly long time. But my name is Scott Koopman. If we haven't met before, I'm from the Tri-Cities. I live in Richland, Washington, and I am one of two UICs for this particular tournament. I've been umpiring for about 20 years. I think I average at least one, if not two, state tournaments a year for the last 18. And then I have umpired in two national tournaments, and will be umpiring in a third here in a couple weeks at the 18 and under Western National. So I am happy to be UICing. This is my first full-time UIC gig. So for those of you who have UIC'd before, I expect a lot of sympathy. I don't know if I'll get it, but I'll expect some. And then my partner in crime is...
Yes, how are you doing, everyone? Welcome. My name is Mike Brown. I'm from Tri-Cities as well. I live over in Richland, and I've been umpiring roughly for about 10 years or so. I'm originally from the East Coast. I moved here in 2014. I was able to do, let's see, two nationals, both Western 14 and 18Bs in Salem, Oregon. And then I did one Eastern National over in Maryland. And this year I got the okay to go over. After our tournament, I'll be leaving on Sunday to head over to Virginia to do another Eastern National over there. So again, this is my first time being a UIC. So again, we appreciate the gracious thoughts and working with us. But we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to having a good time and making sure you guys, whatever you need from us, we're there to support and help.
Yeah, ditto. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully everybody can see what's going on here. We actually made a video for the coaches because I didn't know how much of a chance I would have to meet with coaches before the tournament started. So we made a video, and the tournament directors, I think, sent the link out. I posted on YouTube, and they sent it out, talking over some stuff that they may experience at a USA state tournament that they don't experience necessarily at the regular summer tournaments. And so here are the things we talked about with the coaches, which are all things for us too. We're asking the teams to be ready to go, knowing that the umpires are going to be, I obligated us to show up on the field 10 minutes before game time, and reminded the coaches that once we show up on the field, that the warm-up pitching should stop. I think most umpires really don't enforce that until they get to the plate meeting, if they enforce it at all. So I'll leave that up to you. We want the pitchers to be warmed up, but by rule they should stop. We will be checking equipment for the first game that each team is playing, and we'll go through and check all the equipment. We asked the teams to bring all the equipment and put it right outside the dugout. So you'll want to go through and do the routine check: bats, batting helmets, catchers' helmets, and make sure that everything is legal. If we have a bat that is either unapproved for USA play or is too damaged, then that will go to the UIC. We will actually confiscate it for the rest of the tournament. I will bring some tape. We'll tag the bat, make sure that it is and whose it is, and then we will just keep it secure until the end of the tournament and return it to the teams. We should make sure that all the bats that are in the dugout come out for inspection. So if a girl has a bat that she's going to say, I don't plan on using it, I just carry it in my bag. But if it's in the dugout, it has to be inspected. If it's not suitable for play, it's got to go away. But we're going to do that for every team's first game. And then after that, we don't need to check anything unless you spot something that you think is amiss. And then, of course, check it or do whatever we need to do. I made sure to tell the coaches that by rule, lineup cards must have first name, last name, defensive position, and jersey number. Unless it's a sub, then we don't need the defensive position, but they have to have all of those things. If you get a coach with a lineup card and it does not have all of that information, give it right back to the coach and say, hey, coach, I'm going to need this info on the card. And we need to really hold them to that from the get-go. And you know how coaches are with lineups, especially if they go from one game to immediately another game. They're just hustling to get a lineup card because we're calling for them at the plate. But make sure the lineup card is complete, accurate, and legal with all of this information.
What if they submit it and it's not correct? We send them back to the dugout and fill it back up?
Hand it back to the coach and say, yep, I need you to put in the right information.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. It's the easiest way. It'll probably delay the first time they get called on it. It'll put a little bit of delay to moving the game forward, but they'll get it.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
This is John Strickler. A question: how will we know if it's their first game? Obviously, Friday morning we'll know, but our second game, will we assume that everybody's had one game by an afternoon game, or will we need to know that some other way?
There will be some first games in the second round. I will try and watch the bracket and let you know. We'll try and let you know if you've got a team with the first game. You can also just ask them and say, "Hey, is this your first game?" If it is, then say, "Hey, we need to look at the equipment." So there'll be a couple of ways, but it should be pretty easy to figure out.
And we also relayed that information to the coaches so they would know their first game. They should have it out as expected.
Yeah. So they may help you out with that. If you have a team, yes, we will have some teams playing their second game against a team playing their first game. And in that particular case, just check the team that's playing their first game. We don't need to recheck equipment for both. We reminded him of some of the rules that I think get ignored or not called in tournament play. And one is, by USA rule, the batter has to keep 1 foot in the batter's box between pitches when it is a routine ball or a strike. If there is a play, if it's a foul ball, if there are runners moving, if really literally anything else is happening, they can leave the box entirely and should in some cases. But if it is just a ball or a strike, swinging or called, then they should leave 1 foot in the box. They can take 1 foot out of the box, get their signal, take their swings. The purpose of that rule, the intention of that rule, is to keep things moving and to keep batters from delaying. While it is possible that you could call a delay on the batter and assess a strike to them because they aren't following that, I'm going to say let's really resist doing that unless the batter is obviously not complying. Then, that's the tool that we have in our toolbox. But you will
just give
have
them a
to,
friendly reminder.
Well, you will definitely have to say, keep 1 foot in the box, or batter, I need you to have a foot in the box. We've told the coaches.
Do it at the plate meeting, sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. Tell them at the plate meeting, hey, we're going to tell your hitters to keep a foot in the box. The reality is they're not used to doing this, and I don't know of any other rule set that mandates this. So most hitters are not going to be used to it. But they should be after 1 or 2 games, after a couple of at-bats. And if we are consistent about telling them, I need a foot in the box, then remind them and they'll get it. It's a very easy thing to comply with. But that is a rule.
It's a good idea to remind them at the home plate meeting.
Yep.
That should help.
Definitely. So that the coaches know what you're telling their hitters and all that. What I talked about, and this isn't a rule item, I guess, per se. It's more of I don't even know if you what would you call it, Mike? A pet peeve?
Yeah,
But you
exactly.
know, hitters that are getting in the box, they're setting their feet and taking their swings, and they put their hand up towards you as the umpire as if to call time or to tell you they're not ready or whatever it is. And I told the coaches, it's really unnecessary. One, as an umpire, I'm not going to allow the pitcher to quick pitch you. But two, you don't need to hold your hand up and like play power games over timing with the pitcher. Get into the box, get set, get ready to hit in a nice, in a reasonable time, and then go. We won't let the pitcher pitch. And so I just reminded them that the hand up towards the umpire isn't anything. And I know that hitters that do that, and if they're set and ready to go, but they've got that hand up and the pitcher goes into their windup, sometimes I have had hitters just stand there with their hand up as if you can't pitch. I've got my hand up. The pitch comes in and I'm like, strike.
Yep.
And they look at me like, but my hand was up. Well, it probably would do better on the bat.
Mhm.
I don't say that. I do think it, but I don't say that. But just tell them, by rule, all we're waiting for is for them to have both feet in the box and to be balanced, ready to hit. That's all we're waiting for. And I don't know how much, how much MLB, batting preparation and pulling up the shirts and doing all that. You know how they are. You know how that is, Heather. That's how you are.
No.
So, feel free to enforce that or remind them, that you don't need to put the hand up, but I do need you to get ready to hit. Going back to actual rule stuff. So the pitcher has 60 seconds to throw no more than 5 warm-up pitches between innings, and that's 60 seconds from the last out. That is not a ton of time. If you hold to that and you keep the game moving, the pitchers come out and they probably are not going to have enough time to get more than 2 or 3 pitches in warm-up. Sometimes if there's a delay, and there's all kinds of good reasons to delay before they get out there, but you could limit them to a single pitch, like call balls in as the pitcher's getting ready to throw the first warm-up. Or if they take an excessively long amount of time, you can not allow a warm-up pitch and just say, we're good to go. We're going now. I wouldn't be a jerk about it. I would just let the catcher know. Some catchers, I have had some catchers say, don't we get 5 pitches? And I always remind them, you have 60 seconds to do that in. And they usually are fine. One thing, and I've tried to do this consistently the past couple of years, is really keep that game moving in between innings. And I have found that improves the game and that the players get in sync with that really easily. Plus, as warm as it's going to be, those pitchers don't need to be throwing 5 warm-up pitches in between every inning. 2 or 3, and they should be good to go.
Even if it's the coach too, Scott. We talked about that too.
Oh, yes. And 5 warm-up pitches, if the coach comes out and they catch for the, to give the catcher time, the pitcher only still gets 5 warm-up pitches. And if that coach takes all 5, then the catcher gets 0 and we're moving on with the game. Yep. Now, does anybody know what the exception to the 5 warm-up pitches in? When can the pitcher throw more than 5?
Sure, it's when I'm busy with the scorekeeper or when I'm doing other functions.
Yep. If you are the reason there's a delay, then they can keep pitching until you're ready. So, yeah, do remember that. But, yeah, if we're ready to go, we can.
And when they leave the game and come back in to pitch.
So if it's in the middle of an inning, we want to give them their 5 warm-up pitches if they're due those 5. I wouldn't hurry them. There's no 60 seconds on that. But a routine moving into the next inning, 60 seconds.
Gotcha.
So, and all you have to do is tell the catcher ball's in, and they know exactly what's going on, you know. So, when it comes to pitching rules, so I reminded the coaches that by USA rule, the pitcher's pivot foot can leave the ground. They can have both feet off of the ground at the same time. That is not illegal. However, the pitcher cannot pick up their pivot foot and put it back on the plate prior to that step forward. That's a replant, and usually it's a bad habit of the pitchers. And just reminding coaches that if we see that, that is an illegal pitch, and we will call that. The same goes for the pitcher needing to take a sign or simulate taking a sign from the catcher. With hands apart, after they've set their feet, they have to pause, take that sign or simulate taking a sign. And what I told the coaches in the video was, we all know what it looks like for a pitcher to get a sign from the catcher. They look in, they're not doing a bunch of other stuff, and then they're ready to go. So that's what we're looking for, that pause. We know that in school ball that there's a lot of emphasis in federation. There's an emphasis on that. But if you see that, call that. We will call illegal pitches. All of these teams are B, so we are this entire tournament is 14B. And my only hesitation to being super strict on any of this stuff is sometimes you start calling illegal pitches and that just ruins pitchers. So if you see a pitcher doing something that is going to be illegal during live ball, like while they're pitching, warming up, by all means, don't hesitate to go to a coach and say, "Coach, do you see what she's doing there? That'll be illegal." If it seems appropriate and you can be preventative in that way, absolutely do that. I know a lot of coaches, when I've called illegal pitches in tournament ball, a lot of coaches will say, "Don't we get a warning?" As if there is some rule that says we have to give a warning before we penalize. And of course, we all know you do not have to give a warning. That is purely a courtesy. But our goal is to make the game better, not necessarily be the rules, the rules experts in showing that off. However, the coaches have been primed that their illegal conduct can and will be called on pitchers. So if it happens to you, you know why. Let's see. Yes, warnings are a courtesy. They're not required. The umpire doesn't have to give anybody a warning. What I will tell you is you're going to have to be consistent. If you give a warning to one side, you're going to have to give it. You should be consistent giving it to the other. If you're going to be a little lenient because an umpire or a pitcher is struggling, you need to be lenient on the other side too. It needs to be consistent across all the pitchers, regardless of the team. But warnings are a tool, but I prep the coaches that it's not a necessity for us to give you a warning. It is going to be hot, and I'm going to encourage coaches. I would encourage you to encourage coaches that if they have a long defensive inning, certainly take a timeout to go get some water, give some water to your players, give some water to your pitchers and catchers, really any player. We will not be a charged timeout. It will not be a charged conference unless they start coaching or talking strategy. And I know the main defense we have against that is if a coach says, "Hey, can I take some water out to my pitcher?" And you say, "Absolutely, coach," you call time. Just walk on out there and be within earshot to see what they're talking about. Coach is checking on his players, asking them how they're doing, asking if they're feeling okay, if anybody else needs water, all that's good. But if he starts saying, "Hey, we've got runners on first and third and our play is going to be," then you either interrupt the coach and say, "Coach, do you need a charged timeout?" That's kind of a warning. Or you just say, "Coach, that'll be a charged timeout, charged conference, pardon me." And let them know that if you talk strategy, then it's a conference. And if you're just getting water to the players, I like to watch my catchers. I like to watch my catchers closely, and if I see them start getting flush, then sometimes I'll just tell them, "You need to go get some water. I'll feel better if you go get some water." So let's watch out for the players, especially in the heat, and watch out for each other, but for the players. When it comes to fan conduct, what I told the coaches was that fan conduct is the purview of the coaches, which means if you have one team's fans start acting in a way that is distracting from the game and or just really bad sportsmanship, then go to the head coach and say, "Coach, I need you to take care of your fans. I need them to stop doing this. I need them to focus more on encouraging the players. But coach, I need this activity to stop," and make the coach responsible to address that. And I would just let the coach know that, "Coach, I can't kick them out, but I can kick you out, right? I can't eject you to go deal with it. So I need you to handle that." I have known coaches who have looked for an ejection, wanted to get tossed, but I've never known a coach who wanted to get tossed because of what somebody else did, because of the fans. So know that that's in your toolbox, because the coaches, at least in the video, were told that we're going to lean on them to help make sure that the fans stay focused and encouraging the players. And you have that. Now, if there's just extreme conduct, if there's extreme language or anything that just needs to be dealt with, like a fan that needs to be dealt with, of course you can always get the UIC or tournament director and say, "We need you to deal with this fan." I'm more than willing to do that. I almost said more than happy. I'm never happy to do that, but I'm more than willing to deal with the fan and say, "If you want to stay watching this game, I need you to what we need." Well, I'll back you up 100%. So, you can't always. That's a tool in your toolbox, and we can be the big stick if we need to. But coaches know their fans, and coaches know their parents, and put them on notice.
And you and Mike are going to be on each field.
I
Each
will
complex?
be.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm going to be at Lodger. I think that's how you say that. I'm
Yep.
going to be at the
I'll be at
Lodger Athletic Complex Friday and the first half of Saturday, and then Mike is going to be at Larson, and I will join him at Larson second half of Saturday.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and be really available, walking around, making sure you have water, but especially if there's an issue, just call for the UIC and I'll come a running.
Scott,
It
can
will-
I ask you do you mind if I interrupt with a really quick question?
Oh, yeah.
So something that's related is coaches wandering out of dugouts, right? And so I wanted to ask about that now, right? Just so there's some level of, I mean, it seems best if there's some consistency in management. I didn't know how you all wanted to manage that. My inclination is, I mean, I'm talking about coming out when they shouldn't be coming out, right? Wandering away, onto the field when they're on defense and whatnot.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, Todd. Good job. Here's what I'll tell you. By rule, when the team is on defense, the coaches have to be in the dugout. What that means is the coach can't be standing outside the dugout, like back against the fence, watching their team play. Stop the game and ask them politely, but ask them and say, "Coach, I need you in the dugout." Coaches, I have found, are more than happy to comply in most cases. If they are going to sit on a bucket, then the bucket needs to be entirely inside the dugout. Now, sometimes, depending on, and I don't remember enough about the fields to know if they have a really good clear shot at giving signs to the catcher or not. I think that they do, but I'm okay if their feet are on the dirt but the bucket needs to be inside the dugout. And if any ball hits that bucket, that is out of play. That's like being in the dugout. But especially no coach outside the dugout during live ball defensive play. There's also the coach can't come outside of the dugout to sit on a bucket closer to the catcher and give signs or signals. And I know that happened at our 18 and under tournament with just one team in particular. But that's not, by rule, it's not allowed. The coaches have to be in the dugout. And so definitely enforce that and let them know. And if we have a particular issue, then we can address that in between games too, if we need to.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I was just gonna also say, if you come across something like that and we're walking around, we can actually look for that as well. That way you can just concentrate on the game. And then that way we can tag team, say, okay, we noticed this coach has been moving 3 or 4 times, so we're gonna address it.
Yeah, I had a team that went far in the tournament 2 weekends ago. We had a team whose coach, he just couldn't not help but just wander on. He would stand in the dugout, he would stand in the doorway, and then he would step out to like say something to his players during dead ball, but then he wouldn't step all the way back in the dugout. And so I had to remind him a couple of times. And it got to the point that whenever I would just turn my head and look over in his direction, he would immediately look down to see if he was in the dugout or not and step in. So hopefully we're all aware of when a coach is just absent-mindedly not where they need to be, and we can deal with that in a really straightforward but pleasant manner. Just say, Coach, please, can you get you in the dugout? And they will reply or comply. There are some cases where coaches try and do the power play and they just like to be on the very edge, or they don't like you telling them they have to be in the dugout. So they, and just what I would tell you is, if you have to tell a coach and say, Coach, I need you in the dugout, and in the dugout is both feet on the concrete, your body behind the fence and behind the fence line. That's what I need. In the dugout means in the dugout, and just tell them it's a rule. Sorry. It's just a rule. So thanks for bringing that up, Todd. That's a good one.
Thank you so much. Didn't mean to distract from your presentation.
Nope, that's good. That was good. So just a couple other things as far as expectations. One, we're going to use the USA uniform. The powder blue, dark blue, and white shirts are all fine. I'm not a fan of the pink shirts at a non-cancer awareness event. Love them for cancer awareness, but this isn't a cancer awareness event, and by rule, it's not officially in our uniform, code. So I would say you can leave the pink shirt at home. Don't bring that one, but powder dark and the white shirt. Also, heather gray is going to be our standard pant. But if you bring the dark blue slacks and both partners have it, then more power to you. Just make sure everybody can match the uniform. That's going to be when you head out onto the field. I would like you to match and have the same color jersey. Of course, we want the USA logo. If you got a ball bag, it has a USA logo. The hats have the USA logo and look good.
And Scott, that's a question. When we meet up with our partner before the game, do we all have to pack 3 shirts to figure out what we're going to wear?
You might.
Yeah.
You might. I always bring all of my shirts every time I go because you never know.
Okay.
So, yeah. And if you don't have so I'll be honest, I don't have the white jersey. I just have the powder and dark blue. And so when I meet with my partners and they're like, let's go with the navy pants and the white shirt. And I say, well, I can't unless you want to let me borrow yours. But I think powder and
Powder navy,
navy is pretty universal. But it needs to be the USA. I'm going to ask, we will have different start times. Some people don't start till second round on Friday. Some people won't start till second round on Saturday. All I'm asking is that you show up to the complex and look your UIC in the eye an hour before the first game so that Mike and I know you're there and that you're getting ready. and we're not going to be wandering around wondering where somebody is, wondering if you're okay or got lost or got in a wreck or just what's going on.
Well, and Scott, that's my other question with the staging area. Are we going to have a place to sit down and relax, or do we need to pack our own chairs?
Another great question. If I remember correctly, at Larson, there is a pretty good umpire room, but never count on enough chairs for tournament number of umpires. That's bringing a chair is a really good idea. I know at Lodger that they have an umpire room. I don't think that it's huge. Certainly not, 12 umpires or 9 umpires huge. So bringing a chair would probably be a good idea.
Okay, I just have a cart and I throw my gear in the cart and throw a chair in it and stroll it on out.
Excellent. I will go with you to the fields and jump on the cart and let you pull me in. That'll work really well.
No.
Where's the love, man? Where's the love?
I love you though. Okay.
So please, when you get to the field, check in. If you know you're going to be late, text me, text Mike, and just say, "Hey, I ran into a snag," or if there's any issue, just let us know. We just want to be in the know. For those of you who have had to UIC even a field or a tournament before, you know how crazy it is when somebody just doesn't show. You get worried and angry all at the same time. I'm going to be
question. Are you going to have a direction to where the staging area is at, so we don't have to walk all over the complex looking for it?
These are small complexes. The staging areas are going to be pretty obvious.
Okay.
At Larson,
I've never been to them, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm asking stupid questions.
No, that's good. They will not be hard to find.
Okay.
These are not huge complexes.
Very good.
And if you're there an hour beforehand, I normally walk in and kind of scout the area before I even bring my gear, just so I haul it the minimum amount of distance.
So I'm just looking on the website, and it says official rooms on both areas. Like remember that thing that if you type in Larson playing fields, Moses Lake, it'll show the complex, so you can get an idea of where the parking area is. And that's something that we were going to talk about, trying to figure out, marking off some parking spots for you guys anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to reserve some, and I don't know if the tournament's going to be able to, but if we can, we will.
But that will save a little bit of time.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the map here in a second.
It's a long walk. It's a long walk at the athletic complex.
At Lodger, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long walk.
Yep. That is true.
Larson has got a very small parking area, but Lozier's got a pretty good size one. So there's going to be a problem at Larson if you get there late.
Yep.
Yeah. So, if we can do some umpire saving of parking spaces, we will. No guarantee. It will kind of depend on what the tournament directors have for us. Let's see, evaluations. So this is a state tournament, and we are obligated as the UICs to fill out an evaluation for every umpire. Here's going to be my rule, because I'm a veteran umpire, but I don't know that I know super secrets, and I haven't done like, D1 College World Series or anything. I know what the rule book says. I know what the umpire manual says, and we can speak to that. So my evaluations are going to be pretty honest and succinct. If you want any, if you want any help or direction, if you want any critique or anything, let me know, and I'm happy to talk those things over with you. Otherwise, we'll just fill out the evaluations, get them in there. And if you want to talk about them, I know we have a lot of veteran umpires here, and you probably should be evaluating me, but that's what we're we're asked to do them for every umpire. So we're going to be looking and doing some evaluations, things. If I see anything glaring in your mechanics or anything, I may ask you about that, and if we can, if it's a correction we can make, or maybe there's a really good reason that you do what you do, and sometimes there is. But we will do evaluations. Let me know if you are interested in that feedback, and I'm happy to give it. Off-field conduct. So this is something that is important to me. When you're not reffing a game, please get out of your uniform. And I would ask you to not even walk around in your heather gray slacks. Just put on some grubbies, whatever, and then don't look like an umpire when you're kind of milling around with spectators and others. Even if they know you are, don't necessarily broadcast that. But when you're not off the field, certainly go watch games or anything. Never offer an opinion, never offer a judgment on somebody else's call. Even if you seriously disagree or you think they got it all wrong. If a fan asks you and says, hey, since she touched the base before she was tagged, shouldn't she be safe? And you're like, yep. But I would say something like, I can see why you would say that, but he was a lot closer than I was, so I'd be interested in what he saw. That's kind of how I would handle it. I don't know that I would say, he made a great call if I don't think that you did, but I don't think I would say, oh, yeah, he blew that one. So we're gonna hold each other up, and we're gonna deflect. Try not to get into those. If you're at a field and there is some sort of a hoopla that goes on, please be sensitive to the hoopla and distance yourself when needed. But we don't need more. We don't need more participants.
Hoopla.
Yeah, we don't need more than we already have. So, and if it's something you think that you should be getting Mike or I for, like, hey, there's something going down bad at this field, come get us, and then we'll go insert ourselves and do what we need to do. But conduct yourselves with professionalism. Remember that you're still umpires. Even if you're a fan of one of the teams that are there, please don't be a big fan of the team. Be a fan of the game, and maintain that objectivity in front of the fans. And then don't get into any fights. Don't light anything on fire. And you know who you are. So I didn't want to have to. I'm not even looking at you, Heather. I'm just saying, you know who you are. But remember, we're still umpires. We're still professionals. Let's talk about
before we go on to that. One thing I was suggesting, again, I noticed is, and you guys are all veteran umpires, but if I just know at this level and doing nationals and doing states, it's always good to maybe post game, even if something happened, just to get everybody on the same page, because again, you will be working with this crew. And also it might be something that happened that like, oh, I didn't know that, because I've always learned different things as I work with different crews. So I would highly recommend spending, a little bit of time after the game's over. If there was something that happened throughout the game, talk about it, figure it out. If you felt you guys did really well, just, just having that little camaraderie at the end of each game helps your day.
And a good, yeah, I think that's great. And a good pregame, before you walk out onto the field, especially if there are some things, you like to cover, or, that is wonderful, and help one another out. For many of us who are veteran umpires, sometimes the most valuable thing that can happen in a game is something we have not seen before. And the longer you do it, the fewer of those events there are, but sometimes they happen, right? And I love things that I haven't ever seen before, because it's like, was I prepared for that? Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, there's got to be a rule to cover this. I don't know what it is, because this never happens, right? But yeah, the post game is really, really good. Even if it's a lot of pats on the back because you guys did do a good job, I say pick one another up. We like that. Let's talk about time limit. Our time limit is going to be an hour 40 with no new inning. We must have a winner in every game. So if we get past time limit or we complete 7 and we're tied, we're going to go to our tiebreaker, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the time limit is an hour 40, no new. I like to be very transparent. If you have a timer that you can hang on the fence so that everybody can see it, then absolutely do that. Also, when you start the timer, you need to get the actual time and at minimum the home book. But I always like for both books to know the starting time. If anything happens with the timer, then we can go to the books and say if we started at 2:01, then we know that at 3:41 our game is at time, regardless of the timer. But I like to have the timer somewhere that's obvious. I am not a big fan of carrying your phone out in your pocket. Sometimes you can hide your phone in your ball bag. Nobody knows that you have it. But, and I've used that times, but there is just, it never looks like you're only checking the time. It looks like you're answering some email too, or texting, or, wondering if you're trending on TikTok or something. So I would, if we've got a legitimate timer, please take that out there. If you don't have a timer, talk to your partner, see if they have one. I don't have extra timers, but I may see if I can get a hold of some. And if I have them, I'm happy to lend them out. But a timer on the fence, I'm a big fan of timer on the fence. So there you go. We dodged a bullet in that the tournament directors originally had our game time as at 1 hour 40 minutes plus 1 inning. And I was just like,
that's what we did too.
Yeah. Todd, you got your hand up.
I just want to confirm you're all right with the watch for a timer? Like
I'm not a super big fan, but if that's what you have, then yeah.
Is there another kind of timer you would prefer to have? That's just what I mean, I would just always put a watch in and I start a timer. I mean, I have an Apple Watch and I start a timer on it and I just put it in my ball bag. If there's another type of timer you'd prefer.
Oh, that's fine. I thought you were talking about like a watch on
No,
your
no,
wrist.
no, not a watch on. I have a timer on my Apple Watch and then I start it.
Oh, yeah.
Ball bag. That's okay.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. However you need to do that. The transparency with coaches, if you're going to have a timer and that timer is not going to be readily available to the coaches, like on the fence, then as you get down to the last 10 to 15 minutes of the game, please let the coaches know that you're there. Let them know that you're getting towards the end. I will tell you, and this is a real big pet peeve of mine, but by rule, when the last out is made at the end of an inning, if there is any time on the clock, you start a new inning. And I am not a fan of shorting the players any time. Now, this is going to be a little bit different experience because it may be really hot. You may, like, if the game is really not winnable or if it's really lopsided, but it's not run rule yet, you may go to coaches and say, there's only 60 seconds left. Do you want to go, another inning? But it's not our decision to say game's done because we're at less than a minute. I do want to keep everything on time and all that, but we're here for the players to play. And in as much as we will follow that rule and make it happen, then we should. And by rule, if there's any time on the clock, then we're starting a new inning.
Would you be open to a flip?
To say that again?
Flip. So you have 2 minutes left. And the visiting team is crushing the home team. So basically you have the home team come back out and bat again. And if they should, by the grace of God, tie the game or go ahead of the visiting team, then the visiting team would bat last. It's a flip.
Yeah. I like that idea, but I don't think that I
Not
don't
in the
think we'll
rule
do
book.
it at the state. Yeah.
Okay, that's why I was just asking.
Yeah. I see where you're going with that. So, and when we get there, depending on the heat and what's happening, and coaches being amenable, I may change my mind because I will be open to all kinds of good ideas. But
That's okay. You're not going to be at my field. Mike will be, so I'll just convince Mike that it's the right thing to do.
yeah. For some reason, you think Mike's the nicer of the two of us, so keep
Wow.
believing. But let's if we have a game, we have a game. If there's time, let's keep going. And I say that at the same time I say use wisdom. There is going to be heat. There's going to be the heat issue and all kinds of things. Use wisdom. We want to do what's in the best interest of the game. What we don't want to do is be a bunch of umpires who just want to get off the field as quickly as possible. That doesn't make the game better, and it looks bad for all of us. So if there's time, we keep playing. The courtesy runner rule. We're in championship play for the entire bracket. So courtesy runner rule is standard, has to be a sub off the bench who has not been in the game. For pitcher and catcher only, no courtesy runner can run for both the pitcher and the catcher in any game. Mike, did I cut you off?
Nope.
Okay. So courtesy runner rules, just standard. We don't have to do anything fancy with that. No last out or anything. And if a coach bats like a lineup, so we do have, is allowable to have an EP in the lineup. You get one in USA Play, and you can also have the DP flex. So it's possible that a coach could have a lineup that has 11 players actively in the lineup with an EP and DP flex, and give them 0 subs. If a coach hands you that lineup, then that's their lineup. But I would let the coach know you have 0 subs. That means you won't have any courtesy runners, and make sure they know that up front, because in tournament play, when they bat everybody, they can get a courtesy last out, and we want to make sure they understand that up front. So
except for the pitcher and catcher.
Well, only for the pitcher and catcher can only courtesy for the pitcher and catcher.
Yep.
But
Okay.
not if they don't have any subs, or if their subs have already entered into the game. Then they don't have one. So, and that also becomes problematic if they have an injury and they're batting, all their players are in the lineup somewhere. If they have an injury, then we have a shorthanded rule, but there's going to be an out when that place in the lineup comes up to bat and the player can't take their turn at bat. So, make sure you let the coaches are aware. We will have a coin flip at the plate for home team, and that will also determine home book, and the home book is the official scorebook. We talked about illegal pitches and warnings. Be judicious, but hold them to the rule. Allowance for heat. We already talked about that. It's not a charge conference if all they're doing is getting them some water. So, and also don't hesitate to take time and go get some water yourself if you're getting overheated. Yeah, you need to take care of yourselves. Last, a couple of things for these slides. I already said those two. If there's any protests, so in the book, a protest can only happen if it is about the application of a rule. So a coach cannot protest unless they're saying you have misapplied a rule. So if they claim that it's an out because of a force and you said no, it has to be a tag and there's no tag, and they say you're getting the rule wrong, I protest, then that's when you stop the game and you come and get us. We do not stop the clock for a protest unless the protest for some reason is going to take an inordinate amount of time. Same would go for for like an injury. If there's an injury, we don't stop the clock unless it's going to take a while to get this player off the field. Then we would go stop the clock. And that's going to be just kind of a call you're going to have to make on the field. But if these are small complexes, so if a team wants to protest, we should be there. Either Mike or I should be there
Mhm.
within a couple minutes. Within a minute, we should be there and able to decide. Now, what do you do? And I've had this before, a coach who wants to protest, and you tell them this is not a rule application. This is not protestable. I had a coach protest. I was played. My partner made a call on the bases. He really missed it. I mean, it was bad. So the coach came out and said, "Can you get some help?" He came to me and I said, "Yeah, I had a very good look at it, and the call, I would have called it the other way." My partner's like, "Okay, you had a better look than I did." He changed his call and he made the sign and he did that whole thing. The opposing coach that now doesn't have the out or the safe or whatever came out and told me that I, as a plate umpire, cannot overturn my base umpire's call. And it didn't matter what I told him. I mean, I used the language. I didn't overturn it. I gave him additional information. He made a decision about what the call needed to be, and we got it right, coach. He demanded that to protest, and he wanted the UIC out there. Well, that's not protestable. We know that, but that coach wasn't going to let it go. We stopped the game. We got the UIC. UIC came out, gave him the story. He said it's not protestable, and then left. Boom, boom. You might have that circumstance. If the coach won't let it go, then stop, get the UIC, and we'll figure it out. But don't let the coaches come out and protest a judgment. And I think we're all veterans, so we know that. I mean, that's just not on the table. It's like, yep, coach, I understand. You think I blew the call, but that's the call. There's something else you have, or can we get on with the game? So, any questions about any of that? Awesome. Let's talk about the schedule a little bit. So here's what our schedule looks like for the weekend. And I did not see this schedule. It was not available to me until yesterday afternoon. And I was able to work it and get some names in there. But the heaviest day is Friday. Obviously, we've got 48 games that we need to officiate Friday. And then we have, I believe it's 30 games or 31 if we have to play this guy for the rest of the weekend. Now, this is not what I'm used to, but this is the state tournament. So we're into like some bracket play stuff going on second half of Saturday. You will notice there's a 2 to 7 break, so we do have a few hours in between here. And also notice that we have one game here that while this round starts at 2, for some reason this game starts at 2:30. I'm going to assume, which is dangerous, but I'm going to assume it's because a team needs to come from the other complex. So it gives them time. So be aware that that's John and Tim, that you guys will have a little bit later start. But this is the schedule for Friday. And then, of course, we've got this big break. So if it makes sense to shuffle some of these things around for whatever reason, then that is possible. But this is the schedule, unless there is a reason to change it. Some of you have 2 games on Friday, and that's it. The rest of you have 3. When we get into Saturday, this is what Saturday is going to look like, and my intention is going to be to really change up crews so that you're working with different people on Saturday than you work with on Friday. The bottom line on Saturday is everybody's going to get their 4th game, and some of you their 3rd and 4th game on Saturday. Everybody's going to get 4 games. There are going to be a handful of you that wind up with just 4. I believe that there are 3 of the 18 umpires we have. 3 of you will wind up with 4 games, and the rest of you will wind up with 5. So if you are like, I'm okay with 4 games, that works for me, don't worry about it. and you want to let me know, then I will gladly take that under advisement. I don't know if you're an umpire I would like to place in the championship round, I may not be able to do that for you. But if you're like, I'm good with just 4, then let me know and let me accommodate, especially if you're like, it's hot and I'm good. Otherwise, I'm just gonna do my best and make the best shot at it, and yeah, and that will be what it is. As far as I know, we're 3-man for all 3 rounds on Sunday, and then also if there's an if game, of course, it's 3-man. My intention is for the crew that works the championship. If we have to play this game, that same crew will rotate but work this particular game. So that's my intention. Things are subject to change depending on weather and durability and all that stuff. Because there are only 19 teams in the entire tournament, so there are only 19 teams in the entire tournament. So I don't want to like charge the tournament directors for games that we don't officiate. But I will talk with them about that. They may be more generous than I am. Anyway, Saturday, there is a good chance that by 1 o'clock or just after the 1 p.m. that you may be done. You will have your 4 games in, and that will be it. I will try and let you know exactly. I'm going to work the schedule, probably work on it between now and Friday, and work on it some Friday, and make sure you have a good Saturday schedule and you know exactly what we're doing. But yeah, if you have any feelings about that one way or another, we just need 9 bodies, and that's if we're going all 3-man. I'm going to need pretty much just 9 bodies on Sunday. If the tournament directors are okay with me scheduling 12, 3 of which being maybes, then I'm fine to do that. Everybody, I think, will get 5 in that case. But that's up to the tournament directors. This is what our schedule looks like. You can also see the schedule if you go to the Sports Engine tournament list. You can go on to the 14U state tournament. You can see a list of teams. Here's our schedule for all 3 days, and then here's what the bracket looks like. So, yeah, I'm not sure if it's a. Yeah, I want to say it's a 4-game guarantee. So this is a modified. But don't hold me to that. I could just be imagining things. But you can find this online. Just Google USA softball tournaments Washington. The complexes. This is Lodger Athletic Complex. Here's the parking, and I don't think there's anything closer. And then you wander all the way in here. In this, so here are the 3 fields. And in this complex, this is a breezeway down the middle. I believe that the umpire room is in the breezeway off to the side right over here. That's what my memory is telling me. I could be wrong. But that's what I remember, and that's what we would have. So, and the concessions is in this building, and storage and all kinds of stuff. But I believe the umpire room is right over here. And then here are the fields. They are B, C, and M. Who knows? I have no idea which is which. This one's probably A. So we'll figure that out, I guess, when we get there. And then there's a playground. Just in case, Chuck. If you need the swing set or something, it's right there.
So Scott, quickly, what field was that you said?
This is Lodger.
Lodger.
Yeah.
So Lodger has 1, 2, 3, and Larson has B, C, and M.
Okay.
Yep. I'm
Thank
just
you.
looking
Yeah,
at the yeah, I'm just looking at the schedule. That's what the
perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. So field 1, 2, and 3, you guys will have on that one. And then at Larson, it has the B, C, and M.
Good catch. Good catch. Contrary to popular belief, I do know what I'm doing most of the time.
I think that's that one way over there. I think is M. I don't know.
So here is Larson Playfields, and these are the 3 softball fields.
Yes.
This building is where the umpire room is.
Mhm.
The best place to park, and I've been here 2 or 3 times, the best place to park is right back here. And it's a really short hall. I think there's a hole in the fence, a fence, and it's quickly, just a pull under this tree, and now you're in the umpire room. So if you get a chance, and you can get there by just coming up Yakima Ave here, bypassing this parking lot, just go around. This is all pavement, and just swing around here, and parking somewhere in here. And then here's the umpire room. It's the door is right here. And the fields, these 2 fields are very, very close. Concessions is right over here. But it's a little bit of a hike. I do not, I'm pretty sure that there is no easy access from this parking lot to this field. I think that there is a fence along here that you can't get in that way. In fact, this is all fenced. I could be wrong. So you may check it out if you are on this field and you just want to park grass under the trees or something. But if I remember correctly, there's no access. This is business parking, or it's elementary school parking. So, yeah, but this is Larson Playfield. If you want to use the umpire room, this is really good parking. And then there's some amenities here that are really close by, including Taco Del Mar. And I like Taco Del Mar, so I picked up on that right away. So, Larson Playfield. And Larson Playfield is right there. Our hotels are right over here.
Yeah, it's just right off the highway.
Yep. And then Lodger is way over there, and our hotels are right there. So, let's see. I think that's all I have. Any questions? Are there some things that you want to know or that we need to cover that I didn't? I'm sure I didn't get everything.
Yes, Scott, I got 2 things. We allowing music?
Oh,
I have asked the tournament directors about that, and we had really good luck at the 18U by just saying after the play starts, no more music. That went really, really well. I would like them to do that, but the tournament directors have not gotten back to me on that.
Okay.
What did you do at 10U?
No music after the play started.
Yeah. I think if Rick has anything to say about it, it'll be the same rule because that makes life really, really easy.
Second question is on who reports scores to the TD?
Really good question. This is the first draft of the tournament rules. And I'm going to say, let me see.
home book maybe.
It just says the home team shall provide the official scorekeeper. I will tell you that personally, I hate making the umpires the score secretaries. So unless they make me, the teams will report scores or somebody else will go get them. I like to be able to just, when the game is over, get out of Dodge. And I hate sticking around and having to grab a little card or something. So, but that's me. You may feel differently, but I'm persnickety that way.
I would love that. Please
That's
try
what
to talk the TD into it.
That's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be voting for. So, in as much as I have anything, Mike and I have any sway.
Yeah, I agree.
Can
Good
we
questions,
start
Chuck.
the games early? Can we start the games early?
I wouldn't have a problem with that if both teams are ready to go.
Right, only if
And
both teams are ready, yeah.
yeah, and both teams are ready. And yeah, I resist the appearance of even seeming like you're rushing the coaches. Like, hey, if you're ready, coaches, you want to get started a little bit early. Sometimes the first game of the day, they're just like, we've been here, we're already warmed up. So absolutely, if they're amenable, get it going.
I got a couple comments for the group.
Yeah.
Jerry Faulkner on the west side. Do you want the base umpire to stay on the field until if the plate umpire has to switch into the
Yes.
field position?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, if the base umpire from the previous game will help to get a game started so that it can start on time and give the plate umpire the time he needs to change and hustle on out. Yes, please.
My concern also with the hydration in between innings is hopefully it's not used as a delay tactic in a timed game. Something to keep an eye on. We don't want to abuse it.
Yeah,
and we don't want it abused.
Agreed.
On that note, you can't start hydrating soon enough. Everybody should be hydrating today and pounding it hard for the rest of the week and weekend. It's no fun without it.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed.
Pedialyte works well.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday night, Friday.
Yeah. And so I got the schedule out for Friday, and I got the room assignments out. And if anything about that changes, I'm going to let you know just as soon as I can. More than likely, if I need to update the group, I will do it in email and then send a text out to say, be sure and check your email. Just so everybody knows that there's a change out there if necessary. But other than that, Mike, did you want to get anybody who's in town and at the hotels on Thursday? Did you want to?
Yeah. So if you are in town on Thursday, we were hopefully thinking of possibly getting together. You can either just shoot me a text or get in contact with Scott and I, and we can figure out maybe meeting somewhere just to introduce ourselves, welcome you, things like that for all those people that are coming in on Thursday. Obviously, we'll see everybody on Friday, but 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It looks like 12, if I'm counting this from this room. That should be there on Thursday. That's what we were kind of looking at doing. Hopefully, we'll see if there is a room available at either one of the hotels just to say hello and answer any questions that you might have.
That might give us a chance to decide what colored jersey we're going to wear the first game.
That's true too.
120th Street Southeast toward 160.
All right. Well, I won't delay this. I won't make this go any longer than we need to. Thank you, everyone who took an hour out of your evening to talk over this stuff. Save us a hurried meeting in the morning. I'm going to get this posted to YouTube and send out a link so that everybody can watch themselves on YouTube, because we like to do that. And yeah, and then I'm hoping it goes viral. I'm hoping this is my leap into stardom. So post a comment.
Don't forget to stop recording.
That's right. All right, everyone.
We'll lose it all.
Thank you very much. And we will see you in a day or two.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.